Loving that looks recently. We even got to see the Janna, as you rightly mentioned. And for context, in case anyone doesn't know, I1D used to be a Janna one-trick, so it's always a pleasure to get to see that as well.
Yep, and all the priority junglers were banned out, so the Caitlyn comes through. DMO answering with the Ashe. It's obviously been the go-to response. You wonder if they'll just pick up something like a Karma here, which obviously could be flexed towards the mid lane, but we've seen Ashe Karma has been our go-to answer to a lot of these standard Caitlyn bottom lanes.
It does look like DMO, though, are going to focus on towards the jungle role first. And we did mention how Xiaopeng has been the driving force for DMO, so it makes sense to get him on something that is just very comfortable.
It's also his best champion by far. We have so many great Lee Sin players in this league. This gives Xiaopeng a chance to get in these lanes early on and, you know, start snowballing the game forward, because that really feels like DMO's win condition is find early leads and be able to snowball, you know, off of a 3 to 5k gold lead.
Especially down towards the bottom side of the map there as well. It feels like DMO look to try and set up plays around Shubin in the bottom side, and especially using Twyla to get out onto the map as well. But Maple, we already mentioned his Zoe being one of his premier picks. When he can get the kills early, he really can snowball the game. So LNG are going to go for that comfort. Twyla answers with something a little bit out of his ordinary wheelhouse here.
So he's only played this once in the split, but I remember a few weeks ago, he was hardcore spamming this champion, obviously trying to become prevalent, expand his champion pool. And again, when you have this game, last game of the season, there's no... You're not playing for anything in terms of standings.
Yeah.
I think it's great to be able to try to expand and push your limits.
No holes barred. I absolutely love it as Twyla bringing this LeBlanc to this stage. But then DMO immediately looked towards I1D with the Caitlyn already locked in. They removed the Lux from I1D. Is he going to pull a Janna bad here, Lyric? Because that would be actually mental. If he's good enough at Janna that they feel like they need to bat it away.
I definitely think he should, right? He's shown he's willing to pull it out. It's his most played champion in Korean solo queue, but instead DMO just spanning out the Jace. Makes me wonder if they're just going to go for a top laner on 4. Chalice's most played champions are things like the Wukong, which we have not seen in a while, but also the Ornn. DMO have obviously set up for this more pick-oriented style of composition, so it feels like anything that offers CC really could just slot into the comp very easily.
Really good. There's a lot of top laners being banned away in the second rotation as well with the Renekton and the Jace, but then it's going to be Yui's Thresh taken away just to make sure he can't keep Ashe quite as safe as he would like to. But now we go to the second round of picks, Lyric.
They also could go for Leona here only for the fact of Yui's champion pool. It hasn't been something that is very broad. He's definitely preferred going on to things like Set and Thresh. Obviously, both are banned. Leona is his most played other than that. Ooh, and Bard is something that has gone through the draft. We've actually only seen Yui pick up this champion once, but we said this is a pick composition. Nothing fits better in a pick composition like the Bard. Obviously, a lot of immobile carries on the side of LNG so far as well.
We've seen a lot of this combo in the bottom lane as well with Ashe and Bard together. The sheer amount of long-range engage available. I was getting real excited for a second there because I could easily imagine I1D being someone to play the Zyra support, but it is going to be Fladre locking in the Wukong.
Yeah, and again, we have not seen this champion in a while. I think it was one of the picks that Flandre performed better on. He's only played it once, but had a very good game. And again, we've been talking about it this whole time, right? It has a very strong laning phase with the Caitlyn, going to set up very well for these sieges in the bottom lane. Then when it comes to these mid-game team fights, I mean, LNG have a comp that has the ability to go in. They have great zone control as well. But most importantly, obviously, they want to play from a range with the Zoe and the Caitlyn.
So we'll see how DMO are going to finish out this draft now, because they need something for that top lane.
You have Mordekaiser. Jax is another one. I don't think Jax fits, but just seeing if counter picks overall into the Wukong. Or you could just go something standard like the Ornn is what we talked about, but not getting standard, but we are getting a tank.
Definitely a tank. Chalita bringing the Maokai to the top lane. It's not something he's played this split. It's not something many people have played this split, but it is tanky. I'll give him that. It's very hard to kill a Maokai.
And he's going to have a fine time in the lane, right? We've always said when you pick a champion like this, you get an early Ninja Tabbies, you get an early Bramble Vest if needed, and you're going to do fine in that top side. Obviously, though, you're giving XX a perfect target to ult and get max value out of all those resistances.
Unless he builds pure AP, in which case that's the way. That's it. That's the strategy. No, maybe not. Yeah, so Chiliza with a tank there, but obviously against Trundle could have a bit of a hard time. But let's have a look at these two compositions holistically then, Lyric, because I'm seeing a lot of range on the side of LNG.
Yeah, I definitely say LNG have built the siege comp that wants to get set up in front of something like mid-turret, get those traps down, have Trundle right there zoning Jenna as well, obviously amazing with her ultimate. And for the side of DMO, we said, hey, this is a pick composition. It works very well into what LNG have drafted because they have a lot of long-range picks, so LNG can have a hard time keeping them at arm's reach if an Enchanted Crystal Arrow or a Tempered Fate comes out from Yui, so it's going to be very execution-dependent for the side of DMO. The thing that actually gets my curiosity is like, hey, LNG have a bunch of winning lane matchups. Can XX just find a big enough advantage early on to where DMO's comp doesn't matter in the mid-game?
That'll be the question, because there is a ton of scale in there, and if Twyla doesn't have opportunities to just assassinate people in the early game, it becomes very difficult for those opportunities to even exist later on, especially against the Janna. Janna, if positioned correctly, assuming she's not the target, can keep Maple and Light safe from that kind of assassination.
Exactly. So you look at the side of DMO, it's like, who are you going to assassinate? You have, I mean, for LNG's comp, you have a Trundle in one lane, you have a Wukong in another, both extremely tanky. Janna, we've already talked about, has all the disengage. She has shields for Caitlyn as well, so that's going to be quite hard. You really only have this pick potential coming out onto Maple, and Maple going a very aggressive route, taking the Electrocute, also bringing out Ignite, and this has actually been a way of Zoe play that we've seen a lot more, especially in Challenger on the Korean server. Very much about these early skirmishes. I wonder if he's going to go towards something like a Proto Belt, which we've seen done a lot more recently.
Yeah, it's all about the one-shot potential as well, right? It's like, okay, I landed a Trouble Bubble in the mid-game. I'm going to kill this person unless you block the damage. Being able to throw that Ignite down with the Electrocute, you can finish someone off. We've got 2 Electrocutes on the other side as well. Twyla going with the Electrocute, and we have Yui going for the Electrocute Bard. This is like an old version of Bard that we used to see.
Yeah, this is extremely strange because, again, I don't really see any potential points where you're going to really get to benefit from the Electrocute, from the fact that you realistically should never really be in range to hit Light or Iwandi. Like, you'll get off some early trades against Iwandi in laning phase, but shouldn't be anything that really matters. We're really looking at that level 6 point for DMO spot lane with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming out.
Perhaps could suggest that Xiaopeng might move down towards that bottom side of the map, maybe give him a slight bit more burst, but we'll have to wait and see how the game is going to pan out. And you can see Chinese side going to be highlighting those runes as well, because it is a bit of a weird one. The zombie wards is quite nice to have, though, I will say.
And we do see a bit of early trading coming out now, but LNG have the push in the bot lane, so they're going to be able to benefit off of this massively. And, you know, going back to DMO and what they want to do, right? When we have Lee Sin, LeBlanc, it's all about that mid-jungle 2v2, so we want to see them set up kills onto the Zoe, and then hopefully be able to bring that pressure to the bottom side of the map. The nice thing for DMO is when you have a Bard, we could even see Xiaopeng just try to set up for like a pseudo lane gank, right? Get behind the terrain, come in with the Bard tunnel. You find a very easy 3v2, and then it unlocks Yui to go in, affect the mid lane matchup.
Been taking a few hits here. We'll see if they can make it out of this lane and find ways to influence the map. That's always one of the things about Bard. One of the nice things for Shubin, though, is even though he's on this Ashe, it's not typically a champion you want to leave on its own. He's against Caitlyn Janna. It's not like as soon as Shubin is on his own that there's a huge amount of threat for Janna and Caitlyn to be able to engage fights. As I say that, Shubin just get knocked up by a tornado. I mean, that's the Electrocute coming in.
There we go, but this is all LNG's bot lane wants to do. Keep pushing in, take turret plates, so we want to see XX play heavily around the spot side. Just give them vision, just hover, and now he's going to use his pressure in mid and bot to threaten this steal onto Xiaopeng's blue buff.
Certainly going to try. We're moving in as well to try and protect this blue buff. It's getting dangerously close to resetting here. The Q comes in, as does the Smite. So Xiaopeng does get his blue buff in the end, and XX still confidently stepping forwards here. Now he's going to move onto Yui, who is not tanky at all. Xiaopeng going to answer with a bit of damage onto XX, but the Trouble Bubble dashed away from.
So nice communication coming out from DMO to realize that, hey, you know, Maple is around. Maple could throw out that Sleepy Trouble Bubble. They do get away scot-free, but now we're going to see a fight for the Rift Herald. Obviously, Light can come first, so this could be numbers advantage for LNG.
Certainly could be. Pillar goes down. Twyla's going to be exhausted to start this one off. Has to distortion away from the play. The Trouble Bubble, but with the flash coming out from Yui, he's going to be safe. But nice play here from LNG to group up and grab themselves a Scuttlecraft.
Just great use of pressure, and ooh, though, this is what we talked about DMO, right? They want to look for these 2v2s. They want to burst someone out.
They're not going to do it, though. Twyla misses the Ethereal Chains. Pillar of Filth not going to do all or too much, but good little dodge there for Maple.
Oh, and they
say that. Maybe they're just going to keep going on this one. Safeguard back out. Never mind. They're not going to keep going on this one. They're just baiting me.
And river fights like that are really where we thrive, right? Because you can force out these summoners, really get a lot of value coming out from your W We saw what can happen with LNG in that fight. Obviously, Maple did have the exhaust. And we talked about coming up from draft, hey, LNG have a lot of winning lane matchups, and we see that translates into 2 Scuttle Crabs for the side of LNG.
And the thing is, both of these teams, the wins that they have had have come from like early game skirmishing and early game leads that they find for themselves. Having winning lane matchups is such a huge boon for either of these teams.
And I feel like this is why we've seen LNG do much better recently, because early on in the split, they were much more focused on, you know, getting the Aphelios, getting the Ezreal, playing this much more late game focused comp. But as we saw against LGD, they were so good at running these Caitlyn comps where they have the guaranteed lane pressure. It sets up for XX to go for these invades, to take Scuttle Crab, to take Dragon, to get a bunch of turret plates onto Light, and set him up to be that massive carry later on.
It's not often that you get to see a Maokai having kill threat against a Wukong in your life, but that's what I'm witnessing right now, Lyric, because Chalitza is toying with the idea of diving, because Xiaopeng is here as well. There's a twist advance. Easy as you like for Chalitza.
And the big thing about this is we look at the wave, you know, Flandre missing a lot of minions in EXP right now. This gank's not really going to change the dynamic of the top lane matchup, but obviously a great thing about Maokai is he has such great gank setup coming out from his twisted advance.
Well, I said that there was no engaged potential for this bottom lane, but I was wrong. That's Schubin's flash bird now.
And great job by Awandi, you know, using his Hurricane from the brush, so making it very hard for Shubin to react.
Yui wants to fight for himself. The electrocute comes in, and I don't know if I'd call it a one trade, but I'd call it a trade.
And again, it makes me question, like, is that more valuable than the Guardian Shield you'd be able to have for Shubin and, you know, him not go down so low? But hey, LNG are setting up for a dive. Nice built wave from LNG's bot lane.
Yeah, wishing they had a Guardian Shield right now. I can promise you that. It's going to be slept by the Trump Bubble. Yui, the first one to go down. Shubin will fall as well. And you know what? LNG have just absolutely demolished the bottom lane of DMO. It didn't feel like there was much of an answer at all.
Yeah, and this is great for them, right? We're going to see Light come off with a really nice back. He definitely has BF Sword at this point. They have 2 turret plates, and this is how you want to play out these Caitlyn comps. Just keep taking these turret plates. XX at some point is going to be able to find a nice recall. You'd expect him to path down from top to bot, and then potentially LNG can even try and set up looking for a dragon. DMO's only opportunity is if they do want to go for it right now. But we're not going to get to see that. We are instead going to get this replay. Oh, a bit unfortunate for Shubin, but honestly, I feel like they were going to go down regardless. LNG have the damage. They have the pushing wave. Maple was able to make it over here first. He even picks up a summoner spell on the back end, so even had they needed a bit more damage, they would have had it readily available.
So DMO now going to grab themselves this Mountain Drake. That's off the back of the fact that they're back onto the map first after all of the shenanigans in the bottom lane. But importantly, the gold lead, very much in favor of LNG right now. And one of those kills from the bottom lane play did go the way of Light, which is really good news for the side of LNG. Being able to get some gold in this Caitlyn early is really going to make that mid-game power trough feel less impactful. Oh my goodness, Shubin's in trouble again. Doesn't have any summoners, remember. And
Iwandi's just so good at, again, where he's positioning these tornadoes. Shubin never has time to react, and we did see Yui on the minimap trying to make the play that we talked about, right? Get out of lane, go with Xiaopeng towards mid, try to find a kill onto Maple, but Maple having a massive wave, playing very safe, leaning towards his jungler's side. And oh my god!
He just doesn't miss! He just doesn't miss! Yeah. Oh my goodness. I want to see him go for a Runan's Hurricane as well, so we can get the double Hurricane action in the bottom lane there, but I don't think that that's actually a viable build. Nor do I actually expect to see that.
I want to see him go full damage. You know?
Death Cap first.
Buy the Ludens, buy the Death Cap.
DFG.
Get an Oblivion Orb.
I have a feeling he's not going to do that based on the Forbidden Idol in his inventory. But you know what? We can dream. We can dream, Lyric. Look at the damage! Flash forward from Light, but he cancelled the auto! Oh, Light. It could have been beautiful.
I mean, it could have been beautiful, but still, they're absolutely destroying DMO's bot lane right now. They're about 2 waves up, and this should be another turret play. Look, Maple's even hovering over as well, so we're going to put a bunch of threat onto Shubin, but no. Instead, LNG's bot lane deciding to recall.
And the crazy thing as well is, like, Ashe is meant to do well into Caitlyn, but because Iwandi is doing so damn well on every single one of these tornadoes, shielding the damage perfectly, setting up his AD carry for success, it makes it so difficult for Shubin to do anything in this lane.
Right, yeah, cancel the auto.
Unlucky for Light.
And
well, it's not really looking.
LNG used their top lane pressure. Obviously, Maple's been hard pushing this mid lane the whole time, so they're able to take Herald. But even Iwandi and Light are hovering topside just to make sure that DMO don't look for a contest. And I wonder if they'll just drop it mid right now. Huh, they opt not to. They would have 4 members mid. We even see that Shubin is showing on bot.
Yeah, Shubin gets to clear. Well, I was going to say clear some plates here. Should be able to get at least one, but maybe not. Maybe he has to leave here.
I mean, we have, you know, a BF sword against just a long sword on the side of Shubin, so...
Oh no, he wanted to go for the plate. He might have stepped too far now. Iwandi going to engage onto Yui. There's a paddle star to start this one all off. But Shubin, he doesn't have his flash available. That's a trouble bubble. And that's going to be a kill going the way of Maple. This is not looking good for DMO.
And it sucks that... had the meta shifted maybe like, what, 3-4 weeks earlier, this LNG could have been a top team. They obviously know this composition so well, doing a great job. I mean, think about it. DMO were pretty much stomping FPX most of those 2 games, and LNG are making it look easy against them.
So what you're saying is if the patches had been different, LNG would be the team everyone was hyped about, like V5. Twyla, ace in the hold, is going to be blocked by Xiaopeng. That was a little bit close for comfort. Great trap, though, from Light.
And remember, we talked about, hey, we look at DMO's composition. Has the Ashe, has the LeBlanc, has the Lee Sin. It's the comp that would want to come ahead, you know, through the early and mid game, but LNG doing a great job playing through their winning lanes, and it doesn't feel like this composition is going to slow down at all. They're just going to be able to wait out for that next dragon, get the siege set up with the Caitlyn, and start stacking those up.
And on top of everything else in this bottom lane, there's like insult to injury. Light is already almost halfway through stacking his club. Like, he is going to hit like a truck in 5 minutes time. I'm curious if he does go for the double BF sword build. I would think that he probably will. He did last time, I believe.
Yeah, he did. He was our one that did.
And I think it's also amplified by the fact that you have this Janny. You get the extra AD from the shield as well, so it all stacks up incredibly well. That AD scales so well when you're going to be critting regularly. And then with the headshots in there as well, you essentially get like a 4 times modifier on your damage there. Maple narrowly dodging away from that.
I do also want to talk about how that probably goes down to coaching staff as well, to where LNG obviously have Nelson as a coach. Nelson, you know, is an English speaker, comes from Singapore, follows Western teams. So I'm sure that plays an influence on why Light is one of our only Caitlyn players that does go for that more prominent build out in the West.
Uh-oh, Maple's found yet another paddle start onto Twyla here. That's half of his health gone, and XX wants to chase. Twyla should be able to get away. He is playing LeBlanc at the end of the day.
And let's also talk about just how well Maple has played this laning phase, because he was always leaning towards around where XX was never giving Xiaopeng and Twyla a chance to find this gank onto Maple. And even when we see Yui out of lane, you know, out of sight, Maple's always playing quite well, quite safe, and that was really DMO's only chance to find this advantage with how far their bot lane fell behind.
Herald going to be dropped in the mid lane here as Xiaopeng has been found in the river. Has to flash away from the paddle star. Trouble bubble dodged from as well. And will get out with his life. Nice bit of fancy footwork and a great portal from Yui to keep him safe. Tempered Fate means the Herald is basically just a large minion. But it could be an inside track now to the Dragon for LNG.
Yep, and you know, we've talked many times, you know, Bard. So annoying to deal with when you are the team that takes Rift Herald, but they're going to have an easy time just pushing this wave once again. We see Maple answering wave on bot. Should lead to a very easy Drake for XX.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy on the Cloud Drake here, side of LNG. And they are continuing to accelerate the pace here. They're getting themselves towards a almost 3,000 gold lead now. XX will be able to do this Drake. Maple will shove out in that bottom side. But you can see on the minimap, Xiaopeng wants to answer as he moves towards the top lane here. But I think realizing that Flandre, with complete respect there, moves away from the play.
Yep, and now we just want to see LNG once again send their bot lane mid, just keep pressure. We've talked about many times before how much zoning she has with those traps. Makes it very hard for Xiaopeng or anyone to find an angle into the mid lane. Then we're going to get to a point where we see Maple pushing bot. He's going to move mid. Maybe DMO, LNG, I'm sorry, are going to look for Rift Herald first whenever that respawns, and then use that to open up mid lane turret, and that should be what we expect to see in the next few minutes for LNG.
And one of the extra things on top of this for LNG is if they can keep this gold lead for themselves, it's an Ocean Soul this game. If there's one thing that abuses an Ocean Soul better than anything else, it's a siege composition. They love to be able to just sit there all day long, healing themselves up and maintaining that siege. This is the perfect composition to use and abuse an Ocean Soul.
Ooh, nice play from Chalitza.
Flandre will get the knock up though. Nature's Grasp not going to do a whole heap of anything. And Flandre will walk away with the slide there.
For me, for DMO, what they are looking for is they're trying to look for a time when they can hit some kind of nice Tempered Fate and Enchanted Crystal Arrow on mid, as we saw before, them trying to find on Maple, and find a pick that, you know, can allow them to take a Rift Herald themselves, or even just lean towards the side lane, give Twyla some pressure, and start getting back into this game.
We'll see if they can find an opportunity, an avenue back in. And one of the things we talked about for DMO was this jungle mid synergy and how if they could find 2v2 kills, that was really their avenue into the game. But one of the things that you have to compliment from Maple so far is that he's not really opted into any of this. Like, the way that LNG have played this game has been moving towards the bottom side of the map, getting kills around these dragons and around the bottom side plays, going for that early dive in the bottom lane as well. And it means that Xiaopeng and Twyla don't get to abuse this aggressive 2v2 that they have.
Yeah, it also makes it much harder for Twyla when his bot lane is constantly getting pushed in, because there's, you know, constant fear of whether it's even just Iwandi not showing Envision, as we saw him constantly doing with his tornadoes, or wherever XX could be. So Twyla not really set up in a position where he could find any proactive kills himself. But for LNG, not even just Maple, Flandre as well, as we saw with the last play, just playing so well, knowing...
Oh, that was beautiful. Iwandi. This is what a good Janna can do. You've seen plenty of terrible Jannas in your solo queue games. The level of protection that Janna offers when played well is just exceptional.
DMO know they need to fight now, though.
Arrow is going to sail wide, as is the Tempered Fate, but Xiaopeng gets in, steals away this Herald, doesn't pick up the eye, and pays for it with his life. Now Paddlestar going wide, but everybody's going to chase on in here. Shubin does have his flash available. The Pillar of Filth is not even going to come through as he flashes over the wall here. Nature's Grasp to answer somewhat, but the roots aren't going to do all too much. So Herald is denied, but DMO can't use it themselves.
I feel like that's actually a bigger win for LNG had they even gotten the Herald, because Yui would have denied the Herald regardless. Now, sure, you don't get Herald, but you got a kill out of it. You get all this pressure and fast track on mid. We're setting up the siege that we talked about, and DMO have no way of answering.
I mean, that's true. Like, it's not like this team struggles to take towers. All they need is the inside track. They will annihilate these towers. You got passive from Zoe. Obviously, Caitlyn is exceptional at this anyway. You got the AD buff coming out from Iwandi as well. So yeah, who needs a Herald, right? You got a Caitlyn.
Yep, and now with Dragon coming up in a minute 25, I just expect Light and Iwandi to go back towards the mid lane. And okay, they're just showing us the Herald timeout. But yeah, I expect Light and Iwandi to go back towards the mid lane, right? Retake pressure, and they're going to set up for that Dragon play. Both top laners have TP, so maybe DMO uses this as a chance to force a fight. Not that they necessarily should win with how far behind they are, but they're at the point where they just need to pull the trigger. We have Luden's Echo on Twyla. We have Blade of the Rune King on Shubin. This is as good as it's going to get for DMO.
Twyla's jumping underneath the tower, gets a bit of damage onto Maple as DMO try and force a dive here, but Maple is dancing around the play. The Monsoon to heal as well. There's a double kill for the LMS mid laner. Now on to Yui, who's turned himself golden, but it's not going to do a whole heap of much. 5-0-2 on the Zoe.
Just look at Maple. I just love how much fun he's having in this game. Even XX looked like he was spamming laugh in that situation. And Chalitza, I mean, honestly, there was nothing he could do. Just going to keep pushing out the top lane. And 4K gold lead for the side of LNG, and now it just gets very stock and standard, right? You just continuously send your bot lane mid. You can rotate as a 3-man core up towards the top side where Flandre is pushing out, eventually try to take that turret as well.
Oh, the power of the split push Maokai just not really coming through at this point in the game. Or at any point in the game for that matter.
So, actually, we can take a look at this first. We see them trying to go in. Of course, LNG was already here to answer. Great plays coming out from Maple. Good flash, then gets the proto bounce, goes back in, picks up 2 kills. And I mean, Yui's dead. Buys a bit of time with the Tempered Fate, but overall, he already went down. But talking about split push Maokai, I remember back in the day when I was in the LMS, I think it was on Hong Kong Esports, we scrimmed what was Sooning at the time. I think they were called T-Bear Gaming. And their top laner built IE Triforce Maokai, and they stomped us.
I have some bad news for you, Lyric. I don't think that was to do with the build.
I think so.
I don't think that was a strong build even then. I have a feeling that might have been a matchup issue.
Hey, his third item, Static Shiv, was pretty insane.
I mean, third item, Static Shiv, when you got an IE and a Triforce, feels pretty good on any champion. Or at least did back in the day anyway. Static Shiv
hey, that just speaks
has fallen from grace.
That just speaks how crazy the LPL teams were in scrims. Pretty much always. They've always been like that. Some wild times, but right
dear.
now we see LNG getting second Drake. Again, they still have this 4K gold lead, and we're going to see them constantly getting pressure through mid and turning this into vision-controlled top, hopefully eventually setting up for that top lane turret, while FLICKR just does his job. He just answers on bot side. Ooh.
Does he? Does he answer? 'Cause it feels like Chalisa kind of got his number right now.
Doing great, right? We talked about the Ninja Tabby plus Bramble Vest setup. Obviously extremely tanky. Maokai actually has a decent amount of base damage coming out from things like his Q and his saplings, so...
It helps having that Bramble Vest as well, right? In any AD matchup, being able to answer back with a tiny bit of damage. Always going to be nice enough, as FLICKR is just getting bodied in these trades. But I'm not 100% sure why FLICKR is going for these trades at this point.
And at this point, it makes sense, right? You have XX here, and obviously XX is going to completely deny anything Chalisa can do by stealing all those resistances for himself. So we're going to see resets come out, and I mean, for DMO, how they get back in this game, again, you need a magical Tempered Fate that leads into some kind of like 3-man kick plus Twyla distortioning on multiple members. Like, you need a true magical play.
I was going to say, is that all? Is that all they need? Oh, simple.
All
they need to do is just sub out all of their players and bring in IG, and they can make it happen.
Exactly, but they also could look to potentially send Chalisa and Twyla down to bot, you know, get the pick on FLICKR. They both have TP, so LNG can't threaten too much on top side anyway. You just need any kind of opening or small pick you can find as DMO right now.
Well, LNG, on the other hand, can basically do whatever they want, wherever they want. Twyla losing basically his entire health bar there. As Maple begins the siege on this top lane, you can stick Light in the mid lane to just clear things away. Light did have to use his cleanse.
We have 4 men from DMO here. It's all if Yui can hit that Tempered Fate.
Oh,
but
my goodness. These trouble bubbles from Maple. Oh, my. The damage from the Paddle Stars is just obscene already. He's 5-0-2. He's got himself a Proto Belt. The disengage comes through because the TP was there, but Chalisa, he doesn't have an EMR. He can't deal with Maple. Now a knock-up from FLICKR. Ace in the hole from Light to finish that kill off. FLICKR knocks another one up as he's trying to get out with his life. The Warrior Trickster on cooldown, but it doesn't seem to matter. He's just surviving everything as Light is sweeping up kills. Chalisa trying to tank, but he'll go down to Maple. Shubin ignited, and one more bit of damage will do the trick. FLICKR grabbing that one. This is going to be an ace. LNG are just rolling over DMO.
And the thing is, you can see what DMO were trying to do. They had man advantage at first, but the play is there. Suddenly someone gets hit by a sleepy trouble bubble. Everything goes awry. Great play coming out from LNG. FLICKR especially didn't even have TP. He just walked across the map, found a great flank. And excellent fight coming out from LNG, as we see here, right? FLICKR getting the nice flank angle, gets onto Xiaopeng, Light cleaning up the kill, but now they're in such a great position. Light going in so aggressively, being into the fray. Obviously fighting in a brush as well, setting up for a lot of headshots coming out. And I mean, Maple is just left behind pretty much all of his members to deal as much free damage as he please, setting up for the ace.
Beautifully done here from LNG. And you got to feel bad for Chalisa in this game because, you know, he's been put on Maokai, so it's not like he can have a huge amount of individual impact in his lane. He's pressed tab halfway through the game. He sees 0-3, 0-2, 0-3, 1-3 across the scoreboard. Teleports into the play and gets basically one-shot by Maple as the tank of the team. Like, there's not a whole lot you could do if you're Chalisa right now. Going to be able to twist and advance away, but again, he's just not... How are you ever going to be tanky enough to deal with this?
I mean, you're not. Again, especially even more so against the Trundle, but this is just some great play coming out from LNG's bot lane because they did such a good job of just hard winning that 2v2. That's where all the pressure came from. This goes to why we've said, right, Bard is not really a strong laning support. We saw Yui constantly trying to get on the map because he knows he can't deal with that pressure, and especially Shubin. Just, I mean, he got hit by every tornado, set up for every trap, and it led to this massive snowball coming out from LNG. And once again, XX playing some of the best games of League of Legends we've seen in the past 2 years.
Oh my goodness, there's the electrocute and the ignite. Safeguard might just come off cooldown in time. Oh my days, it doesn't even need the safeguard. Cool guys don't look at explosions.
29 HP.
Not even phase. I would have hit S and then put an angry emote up, but yeah, there you go, that's me. Dragon gonna go down here, that's gonna be the 3rd one for LNG. Then I want Soul Point for themselves. Maple had 10 stacks on his Dark Seal, so once he recalls, you expect the Magi's to come through. Hey, DMO trying to set up a trap in the brush here, but I don't think they have the damage, to be quite honest. Twyla is now going to get chased out of his own jungle. Trouble Bubble not going to land, though. XX stepping forwards as well. This play is not going to end. Twyla gets onto the blast cone and gets out. I just want to quickly mention, Lyric, before the next play, it's not going to be the WBF sword build from Light, actually. It is going to be the Zeals coming out in the end.
I guess it kind of makes sense this game around, just trying to get more damage out from your autos, because we're not really seeing a lot of these. Okay.
Whoa. See you later, I1D. That's the combo we were talking about, the pick potential that this comp has from DMO. They found 1 kill, but I'm still not convinced they can win the fight here. Yui goes in a weird angle with the journey, and Twyla's jumped over to the play, but I mean, he just doesn't have the damage. He just can't kill anyone. Light's able to free fire this entire time, stepping on forwards. Now the lethal tempo proc. Chalitza's health bar just gets burned through. And this just feels like easy pickings for LNG. They were the ones caught out, and they still win the fight.
We are actually at a 10k gold lead for LNG right now. They're on soul point, so I mean, this should just be very stock and standard. And they've shown us they know how to rotate with this comp quite well, right? They know that they're playing around the Janna and the Caitlyn. Let's see how this started, though. Just Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming out. It sets up for the Twitch event. Xiaopeng is there, but it doesn't matter. They're so far behind at this point. LNG just have so much more damage. Xiaopeng's still stunned. Twyla still isn't here.
I don't know what Yui's doing this whole time.
Yeah, I'm honestly not quite sure either, but still, we see them keep going. The ultimate comes out from Caitlyn. XX just keeps walking forward as Chalitza and Twyla were still posturing for some kind of fight. And Chalitza, not taking enough to deal with this fed Caitlyn and this fed Zoe, gets taken down in the end.
I can, you know, Yui's got gumption. I can get behind it. He was trying to assassinate Maple, and he wanted some support. He got the Tempered Fate, he got the stun off the back of it. Portals into the entire rest of the team, and he's like, bring it on, everyone. And then quickly remembers that he is 10,000 gold down, and that he doesn't have any damage for his team available.
Maybe this is where he should have gone the like solo queue or like the fun game modes, like Ginsu's Rage Blade.
This is
like
the electrocute bard coming through here. Saw his opportunity to assassinate Maple. Well, this one's feeling a little bit like a wash here, Lyric, as Light is going to be here to start this Baron off with his team. Flandre can zone everybody away as well. Xiaopeng would love to go for a steal, but he's basically dead already. Ace in the hole, blocked by Twyla here. As Flandre uses the enemy mid laner to get away, Maple finishes off Xiaopeng. Tempered Fate is going to stall the play, at least for now. Twyla getting into the play as well, but he's absolutely deleted. Chalitza, the next target. They're winning a team fight and doing Baron at the same time right now. LNG, they just take everything.
Yep, anything is possible when you are 10k gold dead. Great play from Flandre, right? Using the ultimate and getting Xiaopeng down low. He's still trying to stay in position to steal that Baron because he knows, hey, you know, no matter what, if I stay alive and just back, it doesn't matter. I need to steal this Baron if my team has any chance of winning this game. LNG just going to look for the end, it looks like.
Speaking of winning this game, that might be what we're about to witness, because I'm pretty sure even with both Nexus Towers, LNG could win a 5v5 right now. But we're never going to see a 5v5. Chalitza still in the death realm right now. Flandre aggressed upon by Xiaopeng, but I mean, there's just no damage. Towers are going to fall here. This is going to be game one already. 27-minute win here for LNG. A dominant win. And a snowball straight from the bat. Although Light does go down here, I don't think it's going to matter. Maple is still insane. Ignite's coming on through. In the meantime, I1D and XX focus the Nexus down. 20-5 is the scoreline at the end of the day.
Yeah, LNG looking great. Again, these compositions clearly fit them so well. They're very well coached on them. They've clearly practiced them a lot. And it's great to see I1D pulling out the Janna consistently. Light's Caitlyn is something to be feared. XX in these past few series